promise of peace. The galaxy had grown tired of war. For decades, fleets clashed across the stars, leaving burned worlds and broken stations behind. The Galaxy Council, the so-called Keepers of Order, announced something new, something that promised to end all this suffering. They called it the Treaty of Unity on paper. It was perfect. No more raids, no more secret invasions, no more endless patrols in deep space. Leaders of countless species lined up to sign it, eager to end the bleeding of their worlds, even humanity. The newcomers to the stars was invited. Many saw it as a gesture of trust. But among human commanders, suspicion lingered. Peace offered by those who once feared you often carried hidden teeth. Captain Elias stood aboard the human flagship, gazing at the stars outside the viewport. His crew spoke in low voices, their hands moving over consoles. Every sensor sweep, every intercepted whisper from alien channels was logged. He did not say it aloud, but he felt it. Something was wrong. Rumors spread fast. Traders whispered that alien fleets were not disarming, but shifting to secret zones near the treaty site. Merchant ships reported being scanned by cloaked vessels that should not exist anymore under Council law. But when the humans raised questions, the Council smiled. They said the fleets were escorts, nothing more. Still, humanity prepared in silence. Their ships carried more than banners of peace in the cargo bays. New weapons slept, shielded from prying eyes. Every diplomat who stepped onto alien soil was guarded by operatives who looked like aides but carried training in survival and combat. The galaxy wanted to see humans as eager for peace, and so humanity let them believe it. Their representatives smiled at banquets, shook hands in council chambers, and spoke of hope for a brighter tomorrow. But in the hidden halls of Earth's command, maps of star systems glowed with red markers. Each one was a possible ambush point. The peace ceremony was to take place on neutral ground, an ancient station. Floating at the edge of the Aryan belt, the structure was older than any known empire, its metal scarred but strong. Thousands of alien envoys, soldiers, and servants arrived. Filling its massive halls for many species, the air felt heavy with relief. They dreamed of ending fear, of lowering their defenses, of opening trade without the shadow of war. For humanity, the air carried a different weight. It felt like a storm waiting to break. Commander Leah, part of the human envoy, moved quietly through the station's corridors. She listened more than she spoke, her eyes scanning every shadow. In the corner of a hangar, she saw ships bearing council insignia but armed with fresh plasma cannons. They were not transports, not escorts. They were warships in disguise. She said nothing to the council guards. Instead, she pressed a hidden comm at her wrist, sending a short signal back to the human flagship. The code was simple, 3 words. The trap breathes. Back on the human flagship, Captain Elias read the signal. His jaw tightened. He looked at his officers. "Keep smiling," he said quietly. "But keep your hands near the blades." The treaty day came. In the central hall of the ancient station, leaders gathered around a vast circular table. Flags of every species hung above, glowing softly under the artificial light. Holograms of stars spun at the center, symbolizing peace shared among the galaxy. The council spoke first, their voices smooth, filled with promises of safety and cooperation. They spoke of unity, of trust, of how war would finally be locked away. Applause echoed from many alien delegations. Eyes glowed with hope, but the humans remained still. They applauded with their hands, but not with their hearts. Their faces calm, yet their thoughts were sharp. They remembered the whispers, the hidden fleets, the weapons painted as escorts. The council called for humanity to sign. Next, all eyes turned to the human envoy. Commander Leah rose, carrying the silver pen of Earth. Her steps were steady, her voice calm as she prepared to place humanity's mark on the treaty. But inside her mind, she carried the signal she had sent. She knew the truth. The treaty was not a bridge, it was a snare. And as she touched the pen to the paper, humanity was already armed and ready, waiting for the deception to show its teeth. Shadows behind the treaty. The hall of the ancient station echoed with voices. Leaders of empires raised their glasses, praised the peace, and smiled for the endless holocameras. The galaxy believed a new age was being born, but in the shadows, things moved differently. Commander Leah kept her face calm. She accepted handshakes, returned greetings, and even lifted a cup of alien wine. But behind her eyes, calculation never stopped. She remembered the cannons she had seen, the strange movement of fleets reported by traders. Peace was the stage. But something darker played in the wings. The council representatives were too smooth. Their speeches repeated the same words: unity, trust, friendship. Yet their guards walked with their hands too close to hidden weapons. Their smiles seemed heavy, forced, like masks placed to cover steel blades on the human flagship orbiting nearby. Captain Elias paced the bridge. The crew pretended to be relaxed, their screens filled with the glowing treaty broadcast. But every console also showed another layer of truth. Intercepted signals, fragmented transmissions that slipped through the void. They told a different story. A story of warships gathering just beyond the asteroid belt. A story of engines warming in. "Silence! They think we don't see them," Elias murmured. His officer nodded. "Their cloak nets hide from normal scans, but we adjusted the filters, Captain. Their fleet is real, and it is waiting." Elias closed his hand into a fist. "Then the treaty is a blade aimed at our throat," he said. "But let them believe we are blind." On the station floor, a small group of humans sat quietly at their table. They were envoys, but not all of them were diplomats. 2 of them were operatives, their roles hidden even from the council. Their ears carried implants tuned to frequencies others ignored. Their eyes scanned every corner, recording and sending data back home. One of them leaned toward Leah, whispering. Signal burst from the lower decks, coded, not civilian, not trade. It matches military traffic. Leah nodded slowly. She raised her cup again, pretending to enjoy the taste of alien wine. Her lips barely moved. "Keep listening. Every whisper matters." Far above the station, hidden deep in the dark side of a fractured moon, rows of human ships drifted silently, their hulls painted with black armor that bent light. To other species, they would appear as shadows in the debris, but in truth, they were hunters waiting for the prey to reveal itself. Back in the Great Hall, the treaty speeches continued, species after species signed, their names glowing across the ancient metal walls. Cheers filled the air. Hope rolled like a tide across the chamber. But among the human delegation, silence ruled. Their turn to sign had already passed, yet their thoughts circled on what came next. They knew the council was not finished. The deception had not yet fully unmasked itself. Suddenly, a murmur spread across the chamber. A small hologram flickered at the side of the room. An escort fleet had arrived, so the council claimed. The hologram showed warships lined in formation, their weapons hidden under sleek plating. To most, it seemed normal, but to human eyes, it was confirmation. Commander Leah's jaw tightened as she studied the image. Her thoughts turned cold. "They are not escorts," she whispered. "They are a cage," the council's lead speaker raised his arms. "With these fleets, we guarantee safety," he declared. "We protect the treaty from traitors who would dare strike against peace." The hall erupted with applause, but many faces showed unease. A few species shifted nervously, wondering why escorts needed plasma lances and siege cannons. Humans clapped politely, their smiles never faltered, but in their hearts, they knew the trap was almost ready to snap. Outside, the hidden council fleets moved closer, ships spread like wings around the station, their engines silent but ready to ignite. Their commanders believed humanity had no idea. They thought the humans were too young, too naive to see through the disguise. But humanity had not come unarmed. Deep inside the flagship, encrypted orders rested, one code, one signal, and the silent fleet hiding in the moon's shadow would awaken. Leah returned to her seat as the council speaker declared, "Soon, the treaty will be sealed forever. War will never again touch the galaxy." She forced herself to smile, her voice calm as she leaned toward her aide. "Prepare the message. When the council shows its claws, we show our teeth." And so the galaxy celebrated, believing peace had been born. But under the banners and songs, two truths clashed in silence. The council sharpened its trap, and humanity sharpened its blade. The hall was filled with light, but behind the light, shadows stretched longer and darker, waiting for the moment to strike. The deception revealed, the hall of the ancient station glowed with banners and lights. The voices of leaders echoed as the last of the alien envoys signed their names to the treaty. Every word carried the promise of peace. But beneath the surface, another rhythm pulsed, cold and sharp. Commander Leah felt it before it happened. The air grew tense. The guards at the council's side moved closer to their weapons. Shadows seemed to thicken at the edges of the chamber, and then the deception tore away its mask. The great doors slammed shut. A heavy echo shook the hall. Council guards raised weapons. Plasma rifles aimed not at traitors, but at guests. The council speaker's voice, once smooth, now rang with iron. "The galaxy must be united under one hand," he declared, "and humanity, with its dangerous growth, must be tamed before it poisons the stars." Gasps filled the room. Envoys froze, their eyes wide. Some shouted in protest, but the guards silenced them with glowing barrels. All the speeches of peace had been smoke. The treaty was a trap. Leah's heart beat steady. She had expected this moment. Her eyes flicked toward her aides, her hidden operatives. One of them pressed a code hidden inside. A pen, a signal slipped from the station, invisible, encrypted, high above. Near the fractured moon, the silent fleet stirred. Dark ships powered their reactors, weapons hummed awake, hulls that had drifted like shadows now burned with life. But they did not move yet. They waited, patient hunters watching the prey inside. The hall. The council speaker raised his hand. Holograms flared. Suddenly the galaxy saw fleets surrounding the station, dozens of council warships, their weapons uncovered, siege cannons pointed inward. It was a cage of steel and fire. The council. Speaker's words cut through the silence. "Sign not for peace but for obedience," he said. "Humanity will surrender its fleets, its weapons, its future, or here, before all witnesses, it will be erased." Aliens trembled. Some wept. Others bowed their heads in silence. They had hoped for peace but found only chains. Many looked toward the humans. They expected fear, panic, despair, but the humans sat still. Not a hand shook. Not a voice begged. Commander Leah rose slowly, her calmness a blade of its own. She met the eyes of the council speaker. Her voice rang clear. "You mistake silence for weakness," she said. "You mistake patience for blindness, and now you will see your mistake burn." Before the council could answer, the signal left her wrist. A single pulse, short and sharp, far above the station. The human fleet moved. Ships tore themselves. Free of shadow, one by one, dreadnoughts unfolded from the darkness, their hulls marked not with banners of peace, but with the scars of war. Their engines flared, 1,000 suns igniting. The first council officer to notice screamed, "Human! Ships too many, far too many." Panic rippled across the command channels. The fleets that had been hidden so carefully were no longer hunters. They were prey caught in their own trap. Inside the hall, the council speaker tried to keep control. He shouted orders, his voice breaking. Through the chaos, "Fire on them, destroy them before they breach the line." But it was too late. The human armada surged forward. Torpedoes streaked across the void. Lances of energy cut through council cruisers like knives through paper. The cage meant to contain humanity shattered. The first council warship exploded, its fire painting the void red. The shockwave shook even the walls of the ancient station. Envoys cried out, shields flared, alarms wailed. Commander Leah stood tall in the hall, her words cold as she spoke to the council. You offered deception. We came with readiness. Now you will face truth written in fire. Back on the human flagship, Captain Elias gave the order without hesitation. His voice was steady. Show them the price of betrayal. And the fleet obeyed. Missiles roared. Dreadnought cannons lit the dark. Council fleets that once believed themselves victorious were ripped apart in minutes. Aliens inside the hall watched in stunned silence. They had seen humans as young, untested, naive, but now they saw something else. They saw the fury of a species that had prepared for this very betrayal. The Treaty of Unity lay in ruins, but, in its ashes, something new was born. Fear, respect, and the first glimpse of humanity's true strength, and as the station shook with the thunder of battle outside, the galaxy understood. The Council had planned a cage, but humanity had come. Armed and ready, humanity strikes back. The void outside the ancient station became fire. Council fleets that had circled like wolves now found themselves torn apart by the prey they thought weak. Human dreadnoughts moved with precision, not wild rage. Every ship fired in rhythm, every formation cut like a blade. Captain Elias stood. On the bridge of the flagship, his eyes hard, his voice steady. Focus fire on their command ships. Cut the head. The body will fall. The crew obeyed. Missiles streaked through black space. Railguns thundered, their projectiles moving faster than light itself. Plasma lances carved holes through armor that had once been thought unbreakable. The Council's warships answered. Their cannons blazed. Their fighters swarmed. But the humans had studied them. Every maneuver, every firing pattern, every weakness. And now those weaknesses became wounds. A Council cruiser surged forward, its guns roaring, but 3 human destroyers flanked it. Their torpedoes struck its core. The explosion lit the void like a dying sun. Inside the station, the Council speaker's mask cracked, his calmness shattered as reports flooded his console. They outnumber us, cried one officer. No worse, said another. They outthink us. Commander Leah stood tall. She turned to the speaker, her words sharp. You wanted to show the galaxy our surrender. Instead, you show them your failure. The envoys from other species stared at her, their faces pale, their voices silent. They had never seen a species face betrayal with such calm strength. Some felt fear, but others felt hope. For the first time, someone stood against the Council's hidden rule. Above them, the battle grew fiercer. Council fleets tried to close ranks. They launched wave after wave of fighters, but human ships moved. Like hunters in a storm, squadrons split and rejoined, weaving through enemy fire. Their guns never missed. The flagship shook as a plasma blast grazed its shields. But Elias never flinched. Push them back, no retreat, no mercy. Make them understand deception has a price, and the price was written in wreckage. Council battleships burned, their hulks drifting, fighters scattered, cut apart by human interceptors. The void filled with silent graves of steel. The Council speaker shouted over the chaos. You cannot win! We are the Council! We control the galaxy! But Leah's reply was colder than space itself. Then the galaxy will learn you are not unchallenged. With a signal from her wrist, another wave of human warships emerged from stealth, fresh reinforcements hidden even deeper. Their sudden arrival broke the last thread of Council morale. A great carrier at the edge of the enemy line tried to flee, but human guns tracked it. Torpedoes and lances struck together. The carrier shattered, spilling fire across the stars. The Council fleet began to fracture. Officers argued over comms. Captains fled in panic. Their carefully woven trap was now a slaughterhouse, and the prey they hunted had become their executioner. Inside the hall, the Council speaker fell back. Into his chair, his voice low, broken. This was not how it was meant to be. Leah stepped closer. You meant it to be our grave, she said. Instead, it is yours. the envoys whispered, their fear of the council cracked. Many looked at the humans not as victims, but as leaders. In the storm of betrayal, humanity had not only survived, they had proven themselves stronger. Outside, the last of the council's front line broke. Ships fled into the dark, their formations scattered. But humanity did not chase recklessly. Their movements stayed disciplined, controlled, every strike planned, every kill deliberate. Captain Elias lowered his hand. "Hold the line," he ordered. "They must live with their defeat. The message is stronger than the fire." His officers nodded. They understood. The goal was not only to win the battle, the goal was to reshape the galaxy. On the station floor, Leah raised her voice for all to hear. "This is humanity's answer. We do not kneel, we do not bow. We came armed and ready, and we will never be caged." Silence followed. Not of fear, but of respect. In that silence, the galaxy's balance shifted, the Council's grip cracked, and humanity's strength shone like a star too bright to ignore. But the battle was not yet over. The Council would not accept defeat so easily. More fleets would come. More lies would follow, and humanity would need to decide, to punish or to lead. And so, as the fires of war burned in the void, the galaxy waited, not for peace, not for lies, but for the reckoning that humanity was about to deliver. The reckoning, the fires of battle still burned outside the station. Wreckage drifted like broken stars. Council warships smoldered, their proud banners reduced to ash. Yet the human fleet did not chase the fleeing remnants. They held their formation, silent, steady, unbroken, on the flagship's bridge. Captain Elias stood calm, his eyes fixed on the field of ruins. His voice was measured. "Let them run. Fear will carry our message farther than fire." His crew nodded. They understood. Victory was not only destruction. Victory was what came after. Inside the ancient hall, silence pressed down. The council speaker, once proud, now looked small in his chair. His guards had lowered their weapons. Their eyes filled not with loyalty, but with doubt. They had seen the council's power crumble in minutes. Commander Leah stepped forward. Her boots echoed across the floor. She faced the council speaker. "You spoke of unity, but what you wanted was chains. You spoke of peace, but you built a trap, and now your empire of lies lies in ruins." The speaker tried to answer, but his voice shook. "Humanity cannot dictate to the galaxy." Leah's gaze was sharp. "We do not dictate. We defend. But if the galaxy wants peace, it will be true peace, not the peace of fear." The alien envoys watched, their faces marked by shock, awe, and something new, hope. For years they had bowed to the Council's shadow rule, but today they saw the shadow break, and in its place stood humanity. Fierce and unbending, an envoy from a small world rose, his voice trembling. "Will humans protect us, or rule us?" Leah looked at him, her answer clear. "We will stand beside you, not above you, but know this. If any empire tries to bind us again, we will come with fire, just as we did today." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Alien leaders whispered to one another. For the first time, their eyes turned not to the council for guidance, but to humanity. Outside, the human fleet repositioned, ships aligned in perfect order, their presence alone a warning. They did not need to fire again. The ruins of the council's fleets told the story louder than words. The council speaker slumped, his final words bitter. "You have made enemies. All the galaxy will fear you." Now, but Leah's reply was calm. "Fear is not what we seek, but if fear brings truth, so be it. The age of deception ends here." Captain Elias opened a channel, his voice carried across the void to every surviving ship, every envoy, every listening ear. "This is the word of humanity. The peace treaty was a lie, but we do not come to enslave. We come armed and ready to ensure real peace. Choose to stand with us or stand aside. But know this, never again. Will the Council's chains bind the stars? His words rippled across the galaxy, in hidden stations, in distant colonies, in the hearts of countless beings. Something shifted. Fear of the Council turned into defiance, and that defiance now had a banner. Humanity, as the station's banners of false peace were torn down, new ones were raised, not of empire, not of chains, but of survival, strength, and unity, born in fire. Envoys stepped forward one by one. They pledged not to the Council but to a new accord, an accord forged in the battle humanity had just won, a true pact of defense, a promise that never again would one empire betray all others. The galaxy had seen many wars, but none like this for the first time. The balance of power shifted not through fear alone, but through respect for a species that refused to kneel. Commander Leah turned to her people, her voice low but strong. Today, the Council learned the cost of deception, and tomorrow, the galaxy will learn the meaning of trust. Outside, human ships stood like sentinels in the void, their lights shining across the wreckage, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The peace treaty had been a lie, but from its ashes, a new truth rose. Humanity came armed and ready, and because of that, the galaxy would never be the same.